If the Human Rights Council is going to attack countries that uphold human rights and shield countries that abuse human rights, then America should not provide it with any credibility. Instead, we will continue to lead on human rights outside the misnamed Human Rights Council.
U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announcing the administration's decision to withdraw the U.S. from the UN Human Rights Council, citing hypocrisy and anti-Israel bias. Well, we ran the numbers. Look at this. From 2006 to 2016, that Human Rights Council, look at it, it condemned Israel 68 times, more than Syria, North Korea, and Iran. Look at that combined. With me now for his reaction, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Your reaction to that fact and also this. The council, doctor, has 14 countries on it, ranked as not free by Freedom House. They include Afghanistan, China, Cuba, Congo, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. The majority of them roundly condemned by human rights watchers for abuses. Your reaction to all of that?
Well, Liz, you know, every year and every time human rights comes up in the UN, we sort of chuckle and shake our head and look at these countries. Finally now, we have a president, we have a Secretary of State, and our Ambassador Haley now, who has withdrawn and said we will no longer provide cover for human rights abuses in this sham that is the UN Human Rights Council. And by the way, President Bush, the Bush administration pulled out when Kofi Annan changed the UN Human Rights Commission to this council in 2006, and only until 2009 did Obama put us back on. That administration liked to provide cover as they cozied up to regimes like Iran and otherwise. And I'll tell you, as a Syrian American, if any Syrian American thinks we've made any headway to chemical weapons use and other atrocities, genocides that have happened, it is a joke. The Human Rights Council is a joke, and I think it is about time we let them expose for what they really are, which are a sham and a cover for dictatorial regimes.
You know, Dr. Nikki Haley said many countries quietly agree with accusations of anti-Israel bias, that they quietly agree with the U.S., but won't openly challenge the status quo. Why is that?
Well, I think it's because of the elephant in the room is the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Those are 56 Muslim-majority countries, and then you add to that China and Russia. 70% of the world lives under some type of tyranny or dictatorship with those two groups I talked to you about. And at the end of the day, they're intimidated. The West is intimidated, except for America now, by those regimes. So ultimately, that's why Israel ends up becoming a focus. That's why the Western governance, including our border policy, becomes a focus, because we are constantly on the defense. And I think that time is finally coming to an end. We're going to be on the offense outside the UN process in the way we interact with these governments throughout the world, and not at the table of the UN, which gives an equal vote to all of these regimes who could care less about human rights.
Doctor, even the UN itself, look at this. The irony is this. The UN says this about the Congo on the UN webpage, that the country of Congo engages in, quote, serious violations such as arbitrary executions, rape, torture, and cruel and inhuman and degrading treatment committed mostly by the army, the police, and intelligence services. So why is Congo a member of the Human Rights Council?
Because, again, somehow because they have an equal vote at the UN, they run for the position and they're elected by other tyrannies like Venezuela, Iran, Libya, etc., that have elected them to be on there. So the whole process needs reform, as Ambassador Haley laid out, and she correctly said we'll have nothing to do with this until those reforms are put into place, and we can no longer give cover to regimes that will use that Human Rights Council as a mechanism to deflect and put us on the defense rather than them being on the defense.
Hey, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, we love having you on. Come back soon. Great stuff there.
Thanks, Liz. Appreciate it.